This recording discusses UFE step number 6 as part of the Week 2 series. Here you see step 6 integrated into steps 1 through 7 of the UFE process, which is focus on process use, and many times that's with the questions you ask. Here is step 6 in a linear fashion, shown with the other steps that we've learned so far, and that is to consider and build in process uses if and as appropriate. So what is process use? Process use refers to the things that people involved in an evaluation learn from the evaluation itself. So it's not just the findings of an evaluation that's important, but the processes that one learns about as the evaluation is being conducted. So process develops the possibility and desirability of building an organization's capacity to learn from evaluation processes as well as the findings. So in other words, we're learning from the evaluation process itself. Chapter 6 talks about 6 process uses that derive from engaging in an evaluation process. So if we turn to page 145, we look at the chart and we see the 6 different types of process uses. And the first is, and I think all leaders want to do this, they want to infuse continuous ongoing improvement or evaluative thinking into the organizational culture itself. And that's how we become an authentic learning organization when we're always thinking about how we can continuously improve. So how can we incorporate evaluative questioning into routine decision-making that we do? And we integrate monitoring and evaluation and linking both as we make budget decisions and we plan cycles of improvement. The second type of process use is called enhancing shared understandings. So if we learn from the evaluation process itself, then we're enhancing more of a shared understanding that helps us with our shared vision of where we want to be. So agreeing on the program's model and expected outcomes as a result of evaluation questions helps us determine those evaluation priorities. Some would call it evaluation assessment, in which the program gets ready for evaluation by clarifying their goals in the program's logic model. So this is very similar. This is one example of how evaluation assessment and what we do with evaluation really does dovetail nicely into strategic planning, which is very similar to learning from the evaluation process itself. It helps us manage meetings and the program's plan of work, and it helps give voice to the different perspectives of leaders and valuing diverse experiences of our stakeholders. A third type of process use is supporting and reinforcing the program intervention. So if we build evaluation into this continuous improvement type of thinking, then it helps us achieve those desired outcomes through our efforts to collect data. And so that helps all participants monitor their own progress in meeting the district's vision and their goals, and specifying and monitoring those outcomes as being an integral part of working with our stakeholders or our program participants. A fourth type of process use is called instrumentation, effects, and reactivity. We all know what gets measured gets done, and that helps us identify resources and staff efforts that are aligned with our performance measures and our evaluation priorities. Again, very much in line with strategic planning. Sometimes, to help us get to this, we use interview protocols to enhance reflection. And we certainly develop data collection processes that help program participants and staff be intentional rather than unintentional. And it's another example of participants learning from and are affected by the evaluation tests, the surveys, and the interviews that we do. Page 146 contains the last 2 process uses. increasing engagement, self-determination, and ownership. So if we use evaluation as a process use, then we're empowering evaluation to become systemic across the entire organization. It's participatory and collaborative evaluation. It helps encourage reflective practice, self-evaluation. It builds our evaluation capacity as an organization, and we simply learn evaluation by doing evaluation all of the time. The last process use is program and organizational development. We talked a little bit about developmental evaluation. So this type of process use really does help with developmental evaluation. So the organization is the unit of analysis, and organizational effectiveness is the focus. And so we're looking at those connections between the program effectiveness and the organizational effectiveness to help us understand and support and realign what we're doing with our vision and our goals. And so evaluation assessment and logic modeling can be used for program design. Exhibit 6.4 on page 164 points out to the positives of infusing process use into the evaluation process, and also talks about the concerns, the challenges, and the caveats that we have to be aware of. So you have on the left-hand side of this screen your 6 different types of process uses that we just discussed. And here are the contributions or the positives for each type. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you see the concerns and the challenges. So if we think about number 1, infusing evaluative thinking into the organizational culture, the positives is that's just the way we do business if you work here. It's our way of conducting what we do. And it contributes to all aspects of organizational effectiveness. And people develop a common language, and they share the same meanings and priorities, and it reduces resistance to evaluation. So while there are contributions, there can also be concerns and challenges and caveats. For one, with this type of infusing evaluative thinking into the culture, it does require consistent leadership and ongoing training and reinforcement. And so the rhetoric is often easy. It's always easy to talk about it, but actually internalizing it and making it a part of what we do as everyday business becomes more difficult. And so it can increase conflict between those who get this idea of evaluative thinking and for those who don't. And certainly the experiences that I've had as an educator the past few years, I certainly can relate to the concerns and the challenges. I can see where consistent leadership was required with this type of evaluative thinking. And when the organizations I worked in had that consistent leadership, it was much easier to infuse that type of thinking into the culture of the organization. I won't take time to read each of the process uses again and talk about its contributions and its concerns and challenges, but I would like you to take time to read the chart on page 164 and have you think about each type of process use and what are the possible contributions to an organization with that type of process use, and what are the possible concerns, barriers, challenges, possible caveats with each type. So in summary, step 6 is all about building in process uses. So step 6 involves participatory, collaborative evaluation by working with your primary intended users to identify questions that will yield both answers and action, and making sure those questions are relevant, answerable, and actionable. And so from a UFE perspective, good questions are those that the PIUs want answered, and can indicate how they would use the answer for future action. And page 154, if we go back a few pages, Exhibit 6.3 is helpful because it shows a list of principles of participatory evaluation. And this list is a good list to be used as a starting point for primary intended users to think about. So you could use this list of 9 things of participatory evaluation as a part of the program readiness assessment to see what type of evaluation should be undertaken and guide UFEs in their thinking of collaborative evaluation. So I encourage you to take a look at that. An example being, participants focus the evaluation on process and outcomes they consider important and to which they are committed. That's number 3. Number 4, participants work together as a group and the evaluation facilitator supports group cohesion and collective inquiry. So if we follow these guidelines of the principles of participatory evaluation, the likelihood of us having a successful evaluation increases. So this is the last slide of step 6 with process uses, and I'd like you to go back to menu 6.4, and that is on page 164. And I'd like to think of a type of program evaluation, name of a program evaluation you would like to do. And I'd like you to identify a process use taken from menu 6.4 and discuss and write how that process could be applied to an evaluation of a program that you choose to do. And what would be the benefits of this process use? And what would be the negatives? This completes step 6 of the UFE process. So when you finish your activity, you'll be ready to move on to step 7.